ASM TV. Thanks for joining us today for another one of our how-to series. Today we are talking about how to find a good podiatrist, and we have with us today a special guest from New York, Dr. Richard Goldstein. Dr. Goldstein, thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to be here with us today.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
Well, Dr. Goldstein, we wanted to ask your advice. We wanted to get your advice and some points on what we should be looking for in finding a good podiatrist. So could you just give us some advice and give us some points on what we should be looking for?
Sure, Joe. You know, to find a good podiatrist, like any doctor, really has to do with reputation. You have to do your due diligence as a patient and ask questions and find friends who have gone and had good experiences. Reputation really is what is going to be the starting point for you to develop a relationship with a doctor.
That's a really good point. Now, where would we be going about to find the reputation for the doctors, and how could we search for that?
Well, certainly the old school way is to ask friends and family, but the newer technology allows social media to be all over the internet. So you can search doctors on the internet these days and find different grades of how their performance was. And then you're still going to have to make your own decision, but that's a good starting point to get you into an office and to get you a good lead that works for your exact needs.
Now, what type of experience or what level of experience should people be looking for when they're looking for a podiatrist? Should they be looking for a podiatrist that is fresh out of college and fresh out of their program, or should they be looking for somebody that has been in the service or has been in the practice for a very long time?
It's a great question, Joe. And podiatry is a fairly young profession, although it exists in many different versions. Prior to becoming podiatrists, there was an entire field of chiropody. Now, the older doctors practiced a different way than the younger doctors certainly do. They didn't have as much exposure in the surgical field or in residencies that are available today. When you ask a question, should you go to an older doctor or a younger doctor, I guess that really depends on what your needs are. Certainly, I like the middle doctor that has been out for a number of years, was trained in the more modern technologies, but has the experience on how to deal with patients and all sorts of situations. The younger doctors don't know that at this time. Where I think we might excel in that category is we have doctors that transcend all of those generations that you had mentioned at my office. And that's one of the reasons we do that. We afford the difference between all of those opportunities.
Well, thanks for sharing those points with us. Those are some great points about reputation and experience and what we should be really looking for. Well, Dr. Goldstein, if somebody was viewing this video, what type of experience would they have if they came to you or came to your office?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because we pride ourselves on a very specific methodology of how to treat a patient. We believe at City Podiatry that the patient has to be informed. If you're informed and you understand, it helps us make you better. It just helps the entire process. So patient education in a way that a patient will understand it is really the key. So communication and information is where our office excels, and all of our doctors really go out of their way to make sure the patient understands their diagnosis and understands their treatment options, because there are a lot of options out there.
Thanks for sharing that with us. So would you say those points are really what would set you apart from other offices and other practices that are in the area, or how could you elaborate a little bit more on what makes your office or your practice different from other people?
Sure, Joe. When you call our office, you can get an appointment within that day, sometimes even. There is very rarely a time where you would have to wait for any length of time to see one of our doctors. We make ourselves available. I can say it's not always easy to get an immediate appointment with some other offices. Additionally, when you become a patient of ours, you get all access to the doctors. You have our cell phone numbers, our email addresses. There are great and deep ways to communicate. And when you have a problem, You need to know that you can get in touch with your doctors and that you're not going to be a nuisance to them. And that's where we excel. I certainly suggest that we have done away with answering services, where we like people to be able to get right in touch with us.
It's really great, Dr. Goldstein. I know personally that it can be difficult to get a hold of a doctor or get an appointment with someone because they are not available or they don't make themselves available to speak with their patients or their potential patients. Now, for anybody that is viewing this video, and if you are interested in meeting with Dr. Goldstein, he can be found online at citypodiatry.com, and he can also be reached by phone at 212-755-8858. Dr. Goldstein, thank you again for taking the time out of your schedule to give us advice in finding a good podiatrist.
Thanks, Joe. Again, it's most important for the patient to do their due diligence, to do their research, and then once they get into the office, they really have to click with their doctor. That's going to be the most important thing, so that they can feel comfortable developing a long-term relationship.
All right. Thanks again to all our viewers for viewing our How to Find a Good Podiatrist series, and we hope you join us for our next how-to series.